guess we'll settle there. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Rattle Cruise podcast, where we dig deep to reach high, and of course, as always, progress through action. I am your co-host, Peyron Baxter,
I'm your co-host, Ram Sandoval.
And I am Ron Cabuno.
and guys, there is not much to get into today. There's a very slow news week this Thursday, so I don't know what we're going to talk about. But before we get started, please, if you're listening, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. This show is built off of your support, and we're going to make sure that we're building this community out as large as we possibly can. So please make sure that you are liking, sharing, and subscribing on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to this stuff, because this is how we grow, and we want to grow with you, North Carolina. So, folks, where do y'all want to start at today?
Well,
Speaking of
first,
growing the community,
Yes,
in the
go ahead.
community, right?
yeah,
In the
we're
community,
in
on
the
the
community.
community,
So
inside the community, on top of the community, whatever.
yeah. Also, you have a fan of your shirt in the comments already. Speaking of fans in the community,
Me? Me, I'm the only one the shirt that stands out, right? Or oh,
Nah, it's
RC.
me. I'm clowning. I'm getting ready for annual Joey Chestnut Day.
Oh, I don't
okay.
know what that is, but that sounds like it has something to do with hot dogs, I'm assuming.
Yeah, he's that dude who grossly eats the hot dogs on the
Oh,
4th of July
yes.
at Coney Island. Yeah, the real
Yes.
real American hero there, the glutton,
You can catch him on the Ocho.
the glizzy
Um,
glutton.
so no, Rom, where we starting today's show off with?
Well, today we have this week there was a big thing in North Carolina,
Hmm.
more specifically affected Monroe, and it was the HB3, House Bill 3, that passed in the North Carolina Assembly. And I think we talked about this maybe a week or two ago, that it was kind of coming down the pipeline. But yeah, they have now. Let's see. Oops, there we go. I'm going to pull this up. But they have basically moved the Monroe election to from 2025 to 2026.
Oh, transparency. Look at that.
Yeah. So let me pull this story up here. 1 second.
How many times do you think they get to do that? You get one gimme or one free year.
It seems
So
it seems to be a bit of a plan, but I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ron.
yeah, so this is a quote from our, from not from our, but from the mayor of Monroe. And he's
Mm.
saying, breaking, partisan elections are now law in Monroe, with an added year to take our elections to general elections next year instead of this one. So, and he said, this is a win for transparency and leadership accountability. So so let me just let people know how we got here. All of a sudden, the Monroe City Council about 2 weeks ago was notified that, hey, that Monroe is listed in this HB3 bill to move elections to partisan. And then they also basically were saying, well, the first thought was that it was going to be this year, so there would have to be some sort of primaries, and then in November there would be the actual election. So first off, when it becomes a partisan election, you have to be registered Democrat or Republican in order to vote in that primary. So independents, which makes up roughly a third voters, at least in Union
And
County. I
growing.
think it's similar in Monroe. So basically, those people would be disenfranchised in a way from the primaries. But then they said, well, we're also going to move the election a year, and so they did that in the middle of the night. Basically, uh, without being told, Monroe City Council did not have any input. The people of Monroe did not have any input. But the mayor calls this a win for transparency and leadership accountability. So I truly believe that the only way he will win or could win is, or extend his mayorship, I guess,
His
uh,
reign.
is to actually extend it out, work with the GOP, conspire with the GOP to get another year in his seat. Um, he calls it transparency, right? So um, yeah, what do you guys think?
So, real quick, not only are we saying that disenfranchising all of these independents is a good idea, but we're also saying that essentially hustling backwards is a good idea. I think I mentioned to you earlier in the week, Apparently, 85% of mayoral elections in the country are nonpartisan. So
Hmm.
he wants to bring us towards more divisiveness. And not only
Hmm.
that, when especially in recent years has going towards a primary, format brought forth the best candidate. It doesn't. All it does is brings people to the extreme, and then you end
Extremes,
up
yeah.
with a worse candidate in the general from either party.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
I've called out the mayor to his face a couple times of being dishonest, being a liar, being incompetent. So it doesn't surprise me that he's kind of sneaked his way into this. And he everything that he spews and says is basically comes down from the GOP, comes down from the GOP
Hmm.
handlers. They you know what they have one thing that Republicans have is they have their message, they have their platform, and it gives people like Mayor Robert Burns something to parrot, to copy. He doesn't really have his own unique thoughts. So you know he can follow their blueprint, and that's what he's going to do. So one other thing I want to remind people of, and this is from Carolina Ford, great resource by the way. I followed him on Instagram, but you know the NC House, the percent of votes statewide in 2024, there was 51% for Democrat, and in the Senate there was 50% for Democrat, 48% for Republican. Yet you can see the actual seat percentage of seats won is very disproportionate. So as Democrats, as the state becomes leans more blue, um, as Republicans start to fall into the minority, they are finding ways to hang on to power, to change the rules. This comes from gerrymandering. This comes from heavily from gerrymandering. It comes from stealing the other election. I forget.
District packing.
Yeah, there was another election before I got here. Payron, I don't know if you can recall. Um, his name's on the tip of my tongue, right? But he tried to steal his own seat. A bathroom, was it the
Oh,
bathroom?
Mark Harris.
Yeah, Mark Harris. So he was, and then you got uh I forgot the other person's name, but they're basically making all these moves so that they can, and they're doing this nationwide, right? So, in Miami, very similar. This happened today, I believe, but Miami canceled the November election. I got a little Amazon ad popping up there, but they've
Prime
also
days are
postponed
coming.
it to 2026. A little bit different.
Bezos is like, I'm getting married. Look at me for a second.
Yeah, but here's the one difference I saw is that their commission actually voted on it. So it wasn't just done through the state assembly. It was actually at least voted on within their commission. So in this case, there was no vote. It was just threw into a bill. Republicans pushed it through, and that's it. So that's where we're at, and people have to be hyper vigilant. So here we are.
You choose your way to have that stranglehold on power as long as possible, right? By any means necessary, it seems.
Yeah, they're
Yeah, I
and
just no, I just think I think Rom, you nailed it where you said it's them trying to basically consolidate power, and I say it a lot on this show. I've been saying since probably since our first episode, and I've been saying it before, probably even doing the show. But I sound like a broken record, but I really don't think that white people are mad enough. And it's like, oh, parent taking it to race. But my point is that like the incentive for a majority group that has power, that is entrenched, and their voting base. I'm not talking about Robert Burns because he didn't just fall into the mayorship. These Republican leaders didn't just fall into the Senate, into the General Assembly, into the Congress and the presidency and whatever. We got to start holding the voters accountable. The folks that I hear all
the
the time,
voters
my neighbor's a
accountable.
good one. Because that's what this is, right? Because there is no incentive for those people that y'all love to say are good people, and that's my neighbor, and we like to grill together, and I like to go to his house and her house, and we like to go whatever together. There is no incentive for those people to to expand power for everybody. And we might be like, well, yeah, because the Republicans are hurting them, and those aren't good policies. The Republicans are passing them. There is still no direct there is still no direct consequence for people who are voting for these people who honestly just want power and at least social power, that social currency we talked about a couple episodes ago. Because, like, again, the Republican politicians are doing what Republican politicians are going to do, which is push out people of color, push out women, push out different sexual orientations, and create a white man's party. Until the voting base finds that to be a problem, I don't know what we're gonna do. So I know Ram and I don't know if you're in the group RC, but we're in the Union County Democratic Party local Facebook group. And I hear
Hmm.
all the time, and it's like, hey, right, and I'm not against writing your or calling your representatives, but I try to remind people that specifically Republican Congress people, and I need us to kind of detach our minds from what we believe a representative is that they do not represent us. And but what do you mean? No, that's my rep. No, I get, like, on paper that is your rep, but if you ask them why you're doing this, what is the first thing they would tell you? This is what my voters want. This is
Hmm.
what my representatives want. And that creates a conundrum when people are like, well, if we have overwhelming support, and we're gonna write them and call them, what happens is you really don't have leverage over the politician because you're still representing a minority of people, and they're not losing your vote because you're never going to vote for them to begin with. And
That's
yes,
right.
we can pound the drum, and we can go into their offices and talk to them and have 20-minute conversations with them. But at the end of the day, their whole goal is to maintain dominance politically, economically, and over industry. And
Yeah.
I just don't want us to kind of get lost in the, like, oh, is this how it happens? Because Ruth Bader Ginsburg, in her book Strong Man, she puts in the very first chapter, there are two ways democracies fall, or that there are two ingredients that democracies need to fall, and that is going through the ballot box and going through the courts.
Yeah.
So
Those
I would like
exact two
to
ways.
add to admit to evidence Representative Kat Cammack from Florida. She was the lady who sought out the abortion.
Oh, yes,
Um,
yes.
okay, so I'm thinking that the chickens are coming home to roost sometime. So if it's like they're trying to obviously use whatever majority power they can to you know disenfranchise the minority, and we do have a republic, a democratic republic where we supposedly send our best and brightest to represent us. And luckily, it's not a simple majority a lot of the time. However, they're voting on things that they shouldn't be voting on because the things they're trying to take away should be codified in human rights. So it's not like we're talking about streets and taxes and stuff. We're literally
Right,
talking about basic rights.
right.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think to that point, RC, is that, like, well, I always tell people who are best back when I was chair of the Democratic Party, the idea that, like, name me a right that the Republicans are trying to expand
Mm-hmm.
besides the Second Amendment, right? But, like, seriously, like, that should shut when people are like, well, both sides. I'm like, I understand that, like, Democrats are dismal, they have no leadership, they have no platform. I understand those things, and into a small degree, they're like, at least we're not those people, which is insufficient. Again, we're going to go through all that in a few seconds here. But the other side, for damn sure, since they have no demands of the government besides power, all they can do whenever they have power is take things away from people. That's all they can do.
yeah.
And
So
and they try to dress it up as, like, I mean, Doge is a really good example of that, right? Like, taking away Social Security, Medicare. They explain that as efficiency. They explain that as cutting fraud, right? This is how they have to church it up. Because if they were honest, it's really hard to go knock on a Republican's door and say, hey, vote for our candidates who are going to take away all the social safety nets that you rely on, Mr. Voter, and we'll make sure that we're going to do the largest wealth transfer to the 1%. That's not a really good message
I'll
for for
let
for
I
you I'll
think
let you carry your check down to the rich man's house yourself if you like.
yeah.
right, like, so they sell that. So what do they have to have? They have to lean on the things we know about: racism, sexism, blah blah
God's
blah. And so
gun.
that's why they
Yeah.
have God's guns flag, right? That's why they have to have those things.
So I think with things like this, I think it is important to shape the narrative. One, so hold people accountable, but the people have to hold these elected officials accountable. He's talking about transparency, and there's nothing transparent about it, right? This is something that anyone can run on and say, like, look, Monroe had no say, the council had no say, you just went ahead and did it. And it's something you ride with from now till election day, especially for any Democrats that are planning on running. And whether it's social media, whether it's out during campaign, but these people have to be held accountable. Like otherwise, and there has to be some spotlight. And so is we'll try to amplify these things, and people need to
Can
continue to amplify it and pass it on to their neighbors. So yeah, there was something else that popped up this week locally. Actually today, I just saw this today. Also, again, kind of shining a spotlight on local issues, but there's a this was posted on Union County, North Carolina Republicans, and this comment
Oh, the godly page. Good.
sounds like a good day for target practice. And then somebody replied, a radio host that thinks people are target practice because you disagree with their beliefs. Interesting. And he replied, I have a very strong beliefs in a pure America. Illegals have no place here. So yeah, he's advocating, and this is a radio host, so he's advocating shooting um, immigrants, undocumented immigrants, people, humans, as target practice.
and he
So
looks like he's about to eat a Werther's right after too, right?
Yes, yes, and change his shoes for you.
yeah, so this is his radio stations 99.1, 94.3. He's got a show in Monroe, or a show called Monroe Today. So, I mean, this is who has a voice and can speak to thousands of listeners, I guess, daily. And so, yeah, that's kind of some of the things we're dealing with. If you go to our threads, I have his email on there. I have the radio station's email, so you can contact them. But
I mean, the idea of contact, I think, and I said it in
it's
the on
it's
the on
sorry,
the.
it's yeah, I'm gonna put it in the
Oh,
chat,
sorry.
but it's just wdzdfm@gmail.com. So just putting that out there.
Let him know what you think
I mean,
about the fun one.
I will say, I mean, it's not like, I'm not spinning that. I'm not, I don't listen to like, regular radio, but I'm just saying like, but I'm not going to listen to the Beach Boys or whatever, whatever they call it. But, what was shocking to me as the previous chair of the Democratic Party was that logo, it really stood out. I was like, I've seen that logo 100 times. I've seen that guy probably multiple times sitting there with the headphones on. And like, how did I see that? Because that's in the exact same building as the Union County Democratic Party.
Mm.
And I was like, oh shit, that's the same dude, the same, page or whatever. And but this is my post was like, but this is why I think when white people are like, oh, I'm a good white person, it's like as a black person, how do I know who the good ones are? Right? Like this is a guy that's in a building that I said hello to, kind of, and he wants to shoot people, hunt them down solely based off the color of their skin. So
I feel like I need a whole wardrobe of T-shirts that let people know either approachable,
right,
ally,
not that guy.
friendlier than I look.
Right.
I
Don't
don't know.
don't 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 let don't let the bald head fool you. I'm not a
That's right.
skinhead. Don't get it twisted. No,
No,
but
I
like
just
it's
came home.
but seriously though, like it's that I think we have to, and I hate trying to always go there and cut this way for people, but we have to wake up.
Yeah.
I think people are really stuck in this like blue, red, D, R, progressive, regressive. It's like, man, they are going for all the marbles right now. They're running a Boston on us.
Did
And they're trying and they're go ahead.
no, I just didn't mean to cut you off. Did you mention the person who was like that was our we grew up with this person and we thought they were a good person? Did you mention that?
No, I'm just, but that's a good point though.
Yeah.
Rom commented, he's like, the comment next to you really explains that problem where someone was like, oh, I knew him from the area, blah blah blah. And again, instead of challenging that, maybe in our circles we do hear these things. We do hear people that are saying these things, and we don't speak up. And it's been my whole life I've heard these type of things, and I don't because this is what it gets reduced down to. You guys, I mean, you guys have cooked, you guys have kids, so yeah, you like reduce a sauce. Like this is like the end sticky goo. And this man's at the end of his life talking about hunting people down with a gun. And I couldn't tell you the first or last black person I've seen online publicly in a political page saying they're going to do that while we have, we're going to get to the point of our episode, sleeper cells out there dressing up and hunting down Democrats and murdering them
Yeah,
execution style.
we just talked about the person in Waxhaw who said he was going to run people over, run protesters over. Uh, so this is like,
On No King's Day.
yeah, and it's right here in Waxhaw. So, these people, if one of us said something like that, um, we'd be the sleeper
You're
cell.
done.
We're a sleeper
It's
cell.
over. I mean, it's over. If you even said like I don't like that Republican. It's like, oh, when they go low, we go high. You have to go higher than that. You can't allow that. You can't. We don't speak that way. And it's just this faux like idea of moral superiority that honestly we don't have time for anymore. And I'm not saying we have to go out there and say the same things they're saying, but we have to understand
Mhm.
where the threat is, and we have to articulate to people that this whole idea of like, well, he's a nice old man. Nice old men were at lynchings. Nice old men
Mhm.
stop people from going to school. Nice old men create policy that allow, you not to have access to healthcare, you not to have access to education, you not to have access to clean food, air, and water. So we just got to just be honest. This whole idea of like, if we just have a better story, no, they want power. That man right there, he may not have access to the things that he needs to survive another 10 years, but he's okay with that. And this is the idea of how we talked about with Dr. Kelly Carter Jackson in the book Dying of Whiteness with Jonathan Metzl. But like there is copious amounts of data that proves that there is no amount of persuasion per se. You can have these people because and let me just back up one second here. There is nothing I can do as a lighter skinned black person that would not have that man want to kill me.
Mhm.
And we need to sit with that thought right there. There's nothing a Latino person can do that will not have that man want to shoot that person. And
Mhm.
that's how we have always operated in this system as minorities and black people and so on and so forth, because we have to survive. And
But we
people like
also
that
have to
who are privileged
stop
didn't
being
want to.
we have to stop being so enamored with power. So, as anybody from any minority group or wherever, you get a taste of power and you get access to power. And if you start pulling the ladder up behind you en masse, that's how the bad people win. I mean, that's how that spreads because it's infectious. And if you also feel like you aren't going to be able to beat them, you might as well join them. It won't be for long, obviously, but people are still falling for it left and right.
Yeah, I kind
But
of
that's not
I kind
that's
of
not who
miss.
he is though.
Yeah,
That's not who that
yeah.
guy is. That guy, he's not some
No, no,
aggrieved
not that guy.
minority. That guy is
I'm not.
absolutely like,
No,
I grew up in this town back in the time where the Klan was everywhere.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm just saying anyone who might find him
Yeah.
somewhat
Okay.
appealing
Hmm.
from any kind of you know
Yeah.
marginalized class. I think.
Yeah.
Proximity and yeah, I think I know what you're trying to say, but so anyways, this kind of relates to the other big story this week, which
What
is,
big story? What big story this week?
well, so there was a primary in New York City. So
That has nothing
they,
to do with us. That has nothing to do. No one's paying attention to another a primary for a mayor. We just talking about mayoral race. Oh, come on.
yes,
We said primaries are bad. We just said that.
yeah. So
Yeah, ranked choice was nice though.
That's true. That's
that
true.
was, I enjoyed that I did like the ranked
Yes.
choice, the whole
Hmm.
I'm a fan of that. I have never voted in a ranked choice election,
Yeah.
but I did like the way that played out. I think that makes a lot of sense, because, well, if there was a ranked choice primary, I don't know if Joe Biden would have won the Democratic 2020 primary,
Right.
but
Hmm.
another story, neither here nor there. But yeah, Mamdani Zoran.
Zoran Kwame
Zoran, thank you.
Mamdani.
So thank you. I got it backwards.
His father, Mahmoud Mamdani, wrote a book, I believe, in 2003 called Good Muslim, Bad Muslim. And it was a New York Times bestseller. And it was about how Muslims had to live under basically occupied law post 9/11. And a lot of people have read that in colleges and people have written papers about it. So to find out his son was going to take a kind of liberatory stance as a politician to do this kind of Herculean feat, to be honest with you, and win in a Democratic primary, not against New York City. And people are like, well, it's not scalable. We can't do it anywhere. Listen, I think it's a message that is absolutely scalable. People that were, opposed on many of the issues of Zoran's voted for him, and
You can tell
and
by the outrage that they are scared of this movement.
yeah, we're gonna get in that in a second. Ron, do you have by chance the his acceptance speech or his winning? I can't. What's the name of it when you win the election? What's that speech called?
Uh,
His
the
his
acceptance.
acceptance speech,
Acceptance
not
speech.
acceptance. I mean, y'all know what I'm saying, damn it. Like the speech when he won is like, I won the primary. I'm not the mayor yet, but that speech, it is very good. If we could, I don't know if you could pull that up. I know I on the fly, it's not probably the best situation. I know you're still working through it as we get RC set up, but there are points
Eight,
in that conversation or in that
8 months
speech that I
after
think,
launching this campaign,
yeah,
with the
really
vision
good.
of a city that every New Yorker could afford, we have won. We have won from Harlem to Bay Ridge. We have won from Jackson Heights to Port Richmond. We have won from Maspeth to Chinatown, where they can do more than just struggle. One where those who toil in the night can enjoy the fruits of their labor in the day. Where hard work is repaid with a stable life. Where 8 hours on the factory floor or behind the wheel of a cab is enough to pay the mortgage. It is enough to keep the lights on. It is enough to send your kid to school. Where rent-stabilized apartments are actually stabilized. Where buses are fast and free. Where childcare doesn't cost more than CUNY. And where public safety keeps us truly safe. And it's where the mayor will use their power to reject Donald Trump's fascism, to stop masked ICE agents from deporting our neighbors, and to govern our city as a model for the Democratic Party. A party where we fight for working people with no apology. A life of dignity should not be reserved for a fortunate few. It should be one that city government guarantees for each and every New Yorker.
Yeah, so that's the first time I've seen that speech. Oh, hold on. It's the first time I've seen that speech. I thought it was great, and noticed some of the key things he was saying. Talking about obviously hard workers, but I think it's a very, like he said, Democrats could learn from. That's a blueprint right now. You had establishment Democrats. You had you got to help me.
Hold on, hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're gonna get into that. But like he started it with a Nelson Mandela quote.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "It always feels impossible until it's done."
Yep.
In New York, it's done. And like that, I mean, start with that, right? I think it ties together the idea of oppression and overcoming that, and kind of, the idea of Invictus and being the master of your fate and the captain of your soul. These things, I mean, it's all really baked into that, right? When he tells the story about, his father getting the scholarship or the visa to come to America, and then he calls the embassy back in Uganda when he's in jail because he was protesting for civil rights for black people. And they were like, what you doing in jail? We sent you there to learn. He said, well, we got our freedom, in the 1970s. They're fighting for their freedom. And this is what I'm here to do. I mean, it's like that is the direct line. And then he wrote that book, Good Muslim, Bad Muslim. So I
So
thought that it was, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I thought it was a very inspirational speech and a very inspirational candidate. And this is something the Democratic Party, and this we're going to get into in a second here, but the fractures we're seeing that are being exposed. I can't think all across America, wherever you are on the political spectrum. But what does that mean for us
Well,
right
to
now?
that point, like he gave a enumerated list of, policies or a vision essentially.
Right.
And how lost in the sauce do you have to be against those? He
Mm,
was basically bringing up the all American dream at literally ground level.
every time.
And yeah, right. And so if your only comeback to that is, well, how are we going to pay for it?
He's a socialist.
That no, seriously, if that is all you're worried about,
Hmm.
get to the back of the line, we'll figure it out, and then you can reap the benefits. But if
Well,
that's all you're bringing, that's not sufficient.
yeah, and yeah, we've talked about like, well, what do you want? What do federal tax dollars do you want? What do you want? Why are you worried about balancing the budget? The people in Congress aren't worried about balancing the budget. They're just spending however they want, right?
Like
That's
drunken
going straight to
sailors.
billionaires. There's what is going into your pocket? Like, why? What here? So let me actually put up
Let me
on the
see
screen.
your wish list, and then
So
let me show you the GOP wish list. Do they match up?
this is what they put on Fox News. Is like this is
He's
apparently. I mean,
insane.
he wants to freeze the rent. He wants to build affordable housing. He wants to
Is this a pro or an anti post?
Right.
expand and protected gender affirming care, makes a sanctuary city for LGBTQIA, creating city owned grocery stores, fare free buses, raising the minimum wage to 30. Into ICE cooperation. Like like this list is pretty like appealing for the most part, right? Like, and so when people always like, oh, you raising minimum wage, like, why are you trying to keep the minimum wage down for others? Why aren't you asking your employer? Why aren't you asking yourself? Why aren't you getting paid more? Why aren't you getting paid your fair
That's right.
share? And
So
so,
Right.
they always want to say, well, I don't want to pay whatever for a cheeseburger, but you're going to say it's okay for Trump to raise prices on everything through tariffs
it's
that aren't
patriotic.
doing anything.
Well, you guys are being a little too logical. We're talking politics here, guys. Politics is literally the most illogical thing
I'm getting
possible.
emotional with the facts. Isn't the
Well,
emotion the important part?
That's emotion's fine. You guys were thinking too much. Stop using that brain a little bit
My
too much.
bad.
But it's crazy because Fox, of course, was having meltdowns. They had I think the next morning they had Eric Adams on Fox and Friends, and they had their other shoehorn Negro talking to him about like, oh, don't you think this is crazy? He's an anti-Semite and all this stuff. And but it's like Fox, if this is the city that you guys hate so much, I mean, we can't listen to right wing anything without hearing how much they hate New York because it is this metropolitan hellscape.
Yeah.
There's women getting abortions on every corner. There are the LGBTQ people in every single McDonald's. You can't get a Big Mac.
Homeless people in every corner,
There's
in every
homeless people
crevice.
murdering.
It's so
They're
dirty and ugh, like it's like
the homeless people are raping you as they murder you. All the black people are thugs. All the Latino peoples are, they're thieves and they're making you chimichangas. This is
I'm not
this is
even
what they
touching this.
say. This is that sticky goo we talk about. This is what they say, over and over again. They play that B-roll in the background of like 5 years ago at the BLM protest, but then they'll talk about something's happening now. They'll be like, well, see, this was happening. It's burning down right now, blah, blah, blah. But my thing is this is a city that you guys hate so much, and a Ken that you hate so much, and he's gonna destroy the city. You would imagine this is the perfect thing that you would expect, right? That like he's gonna destroy the city that you hate so much.
They're not
But
acting
it
like
doesn't
it's
make
going to be a
sense.
told you so.
No, because they live there. The Fox News headquarters is in New York City. So all these people that hate the coastal elites are coastal elites themselves.
yeah.
That's right.
One of the things when we
But
first go ahead.
yeah.
No, go ahead.
No,
I want you to finish. You're
no,
cooking.
I'm not cooking today. I'm excited. I thought it was a great campaign, and I just wanted to at least touch on it. If we're going to go into a different direction.
No,
Go
I'm
ahead.
not. No, I'm not. Because when we first started this podcast, one of the things that I said, maybe idealistically, is that either that we, the people, can influence the party, the Democratic Party, if we get involved, or there's going to probably, at some point, there's probably going to be some other party necessary or required. But this is an example of the people influencing the
Yeah,
party because you had, Bill Clinton, you had Jim
that's right.
Clyburn, You
That's
had
right.
a few other
Bill
like
Ackman.
Democrats,
You had Bloomberg, who was a
Bloomberg,
Republican at one
25 million.
point,
Like,
and then he was an independent.
I mean,
Yeah,
the spending in this pact was insane. It was like 4 or 5, maybe even 10 times as higher as some of the other candidates, right? And so here you are, this
talking about
Democratic,
Cuomo.
yeah,
But we can be very
Cuomo, but
happy
you
that
had
they
this,
had such a flawed candidate.
well,
I
I
mean,
don't know. I
was
don't know
he?
if that's that because and also
I
like
was
so
the
you have this
governor.
this Democratic socialist, right? So oh my gosh, he's talking about city-owned grocery stores, but like
I think he meant Cuomo. I think he's talking about Cuomo as a flawed candidate.
Yes,
yeah,
no, yeah, exactly.
yeah, I
Like
know.
if
I'm
you had a
saying but
somewhat
I'm not.
upstanding
But what
oh.
I'm saying
foil.
is that Mamdani, like, he earned it. Like, it wasn't just because
That's right.
Cuomo. And if Cuomo's the best you can put up from the Democratic establishment, like, good lord, I mean, like,
Well, they had to because when Eric Adams got in his bullshit and people were protesting him after Trump dropped his, we'll get into that later, but like, people were like, they had to have another establishment, quasi-establishment candidate, and
did they have
they
ranked?
had.
Did they have ranked when he was voted in, Mayor Eric
They
Adams?
did, but it was still new. People didn't really get it how much because a lot of folks were trying to rank Maya Wiley.
Mm.
A civil rights attorney, powerful speaker, someone that actually was fighting for people her entire career. Not a cop trying to find a crack pipe. Not one of those. Not a crack pipe in the book bag, but
Crack pipe in every teddy bear.
and every teddy bear, and you got bullets behind the pictures of your mommy. Um, if you guys haven't seen that, please Google Eric Adams helps you. I don't even know what the title
It's
is,
now
but.
it's resurfaced as Eric Adams drug search video.
Drug search video. So search that, folks. We may play that at the end.
Of
But
his hypothetical child's room.
as someone who organized does this work, I have to give hats off to Zohran's campaign. Because yes, it was the people versus the power. People, it was the movement versus the money. This is a guy that had 50,000 plus volunteers spread out all across New York City, knocking doors, canvassing, doing lit drops, talking to people. Versus $36 million of billionaire or uber wealthy money, or not, I'm gonna take Uber out, DoorDash money, which is another scandal that actually paid Cuomo to help deregulate so they can make more income and crush collective bargaining. But then they knocked 1.5 million doors. That is very, very, very impressive multiple times. So it wasn't that they knocked the door once. So this was a campaign that was affirmative about what the Democratic Party or excuse me, what he stands for or what he wants to do. And I think he took a playbook out of Trump's bag where like to a degree, like hear me out here. I'm not saying he's Donald Trump, but like Donald Trump's had a lot of shit on the campaign trail. He has no plans on getting done. Why not say shit that that will you at least try to get that shit done for people and
It's
then get that
aspirational.
it's inspirational and aspirational. There it is. And we've been talking about this on this show specifically for a long time that the Democratic Party doesn't stand for anything. And for a long time, it's just been we're not Trump. Look what they're doing. We're putting out press releases. Oh, we're gonna come together. We're happy, unity. No, he said I want a New York City that the New Yorkers can afford. I want to freeze the rent. I want to have free bus fare. I want to have free child care. Now we know that he has to have a General Assembly. He has to have all these parts of Congress to work with him within New York State. But damn it, where does he stand on those things? And a lot of our Democrats don't do that. They're not inspiring people. We're trying to finger wag them to death to say that you don't want to have those Republicans. And I've always said that the Democratic Party has the bad boyfriend syndrome, where it's like he gonna cheat on you, he gonna beat you, and then the exact when she's like I'm leaving, he's gonna be like, where you gonna go? You gonna go over there? You gonna go to him? To the
Yeah.
And to that
Republicans?
point, you see Chris Cuomo, who
Oh
is just
God, melting
just
down,
absolutely bashing and fear mongering about
insane.
socialist future that everyone is going to perish under.
Well,
So instead of being aspirational and saying we
Oh,
can do better, we're just like, we'd really just like to be able to go back to yesterday if possible, sir.
yeah,
grotesque.
Adams is worse, and I think some you said, like, you got to live today like you change the world tomorrow, right? I mean, you have to
Whatever
have
that quote that you said, I said that one
something
time.
more something more radical, right? Because we talk about, like, everyone, like, they're talking about on the left and Democrats, like, they want their own Joe Rogan, and they want to chase the sin to chase after the people that Trump is, I guess, moved from the middle. But Trump's strategy was really, and I don't know if it was his strategy, but what ended up happening was that he captured new voters people who were apathetic because he had this, he was appealing to
I
their
mean, he was using
basic,
hate.
yeah, he was
Yeah, he was using
their
hate.
basic
That was
instinct.
the tool he
He
was
was
using,
appealing to
right?
their
He
basic
was
instinct
riding
of
the
hate,
wave.
but he did it right,
Right.
as opposed to, and
Yes,
so like
for sure.
Democrats are afraid to shake things up and do things
To have any
the base.
convictions, to be principled, to have convictions about what you're saying. They do not have it.
Yeah, to bring in hardworking Americans who, and just there's a lot of people that still don't vote. So I think it's a strategy that's probably got legs and got teeth. And I think Democrats have to stop resisting. But the problem is Democrats are in the pockets of a lot of these billionaires, right? So Richie and Jeffries and all these
So let's get into that
folks.
then. So we know there was a lot of backlash, right? Because you got this Muslim Democratic Socialist winning handily over a Cuomo in New York City. Did you? I
A
mean,
lot
I
of
couldn't put
scary
that.
buzzwords.
I couldn't put that sentence together 2 years ago to save my life. I mean, because Mamdani, we forget Mamdani ran against Eric Adams in that same election with Maya Wiley, right? And
Hmm.
he was, he had 0% polling. I mean, in October he had 1% polling. He was at, a trans event. This guy that won, not
He was
throwing
15 points down a month ago.
a month ago, right? This is a guy who won without throwing marginalized communities under the bus. Can you believe that, people? He didn't say trans people. I don't know about them folks. He didn't say immigrants. I don't know about them folks. He didn't say I love Israel more than. I mean, he said he stood on what he
He had
what he
convictions.
wanted.
Yeah.
He had convictions, and people that resonates with people,
Right.
and that's what Trump does. I mean, I don't think Trump has actual convictions, but he says what the people are convicted about. If you've
Hmm.
been indoctrinated to believe that every Latino person is an immigrant, you believe every black person is a thug, women are too uppity and mouthy. Trump's going to say that to you because you're
He is
convicted
a
about that.
conduit of their narrative,
There
right?
you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a capacitor to that, right? Like he's not the actual source of it. So as long as he can channel that, and if you don't have a place to off-put that, you shall explode. And that's what we're seeing MAGA do currently as they're losing jobs, they're losing health care, they're losing all these social safety nets. They're not. I didn't know Trump was going to do all this. Hey, look, hey,
That was
he
Jason.
channeled your rage, and now this is what you get when you're not trying to build. Because one thing about hate is a denigrating force. It carves you, it hollows you out from within, right? Like you can't
It
build
takes
off
a
hate.
second to wreck it. It takes time to build.
That's how many times have we said that on the show as well, Ron? In a less cool way, but that specific scenario. But and I look at the response from the right. I don't know if we have any tweets of some of these folks. We have Marjorie Taylor Greene putting up this AI picture of the Statue of Liberty. That's I guess with supposedly a burqa. You got Charlie Kirk saying we were supposed to never forget 9/11, and it seems New York forgot, and all this like rampant Islamophobia. And I think honestly, post October 7th to now, Islamophobia is the only true racist idea that is very normalized in the American zeitgeist. That you could just say that and there'll be no consequences. You can just, here we go here, right? This hits so hard. Does it, Marge? And these are the same people who are saying the right thing about Iran. So this isn't about like this. We're trying to pat them on the back and like, oh, are these fair was it fair weather
Fair weather.
friends or whatever, fair weather friends? They're not, because it's out of this like white supremacist isolationist ideology. They don't give a shit about Iranian people, right? They try to use that, but in reality, they want an ethno state here.
Yeah, why
So
don't
that's
you
what
just switch that burqa to one of them red handmaids dresses? And that's what they're doing.
Exactly. So like, when we're seeing these people do this shit, and before we get into, no, let's get into Ogles. So we have here Representative from Tennessee, Andy Ogles. He sends a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi calling for the denaturalization and deportation of Zohran Mamdani.
The most
Y'all,
ludicrous thing I've heard in a very long
insane,
time. Stripping somebody of their citizenship.
insane. I
Be-
mean,
and
and we want
because
to talk
what?
about how this is not a racist party of people who say this type of shit, and they're going full blown post 9/11 of Islamophobia.
Yeah. Yep. Like it's in for what?
Okay, is it
Because
just
but
like
here's I was gonna say, but
affiliation?
what I will say is he's got them scared because he's captured the attention, right? And so
yeah,
And he's
That's right.
radical. He's radical, and so it means he's getting press, he's getting attention. People are learning who he is, and they're gonna the same thing they try to do with Obama. He's not born here, and he doesn't belong here. So are we going
But
to
you know what they
run
finally
away from
got?
that?
Hold on. But they finally, after all these years, RC and Rom, they finally got their African-born Muslim, leader. They said
Barry
Obama was.
Sorieto.
They
And
finally got him. They're like, we got him. We finally got one.
it,
But to your point about the attention economy, I just want to just touch on this real quick. This book here by Anand Giridharadas, The Persuaders. I don't know if anybody's read it in the chat or on our team here, but he talks with AOC where she talks about the attention economy and how that's how she ran her campaigns and how that became so effective for her because she says as long as you're controlling what people are talking about, you're controlling the narrative.
mhm.
And this is something the Democrats need to get either back on or they need to start doing today or whatever. But as a pick this book, I thought about something else. Anat Shankar Osorio is another vignette in this book. And she's a political strategist where she talks about like she has the most phenomenal like banger one-liners or like political posturing you could possibly imagine. But she says that like yeah, I think over her talking about Zoran's race that what he did was he animated the base to persuade the middle instead of diluting who you are to try to engender yourself with the middle. And that's what the Democratic Party has done for so long, whether it be local, statewide, or federally, is that we dilute whatever quote unquote message or position we have to try to appeal to this mythological middle,
Yeah.
rather than doing what Zoran did and what Obama did, was that people were so animated, they were so excited about Zoran Mamdani that even if you were a hater, you're like, hold on, my sister, my friend, my daughter is so excited about this candidate. I might give this guy a shot, and that matters. That matters. And we were talking, and I got into it on Raw 2 Reels page, ironically, Ron, today. Because he was trying to give this half-ass um
Congratulatory.
to Zoran, but then also like
Yeah.
don't come
I,
don't come for Kamala Harris.
I don't,
And I was like, listen, my comment was basically like she ran a Republican light campaign. And what he did was he invested in the base to turn those people on to again animate more people and
That's
persuade
giving
more
her
people.
too much credit. She
Agreed.
doesn't have half the nuts of your average Republican campaign.
Well, so again, if I can get real Coke, I'm not gonna get Coke Light. And and then people were eating me up and trying to eat me up and oh, you're a piece of shit. You want Trump and all. I'm like, no. And the Democratic Party has to have this mea culpa moment. We have to have this introspection, self-awareness, self-reflection. Because if it's just we have to maintain Obama and Kamala Harris's legacy versus us regular people listening and watching this streaming right now saying we deserve better from the fucking government. I mean look, I got a picture of Obama right here, right? We have a book. That book's called Hugs from Obama. Actually, that's not a book. But we
No,
do have
that
a
one's Pete
so
Souza's book.
that's Pete
I
Souza's
have
book.
that book.
But we also have Hugs from Obama. So I'm not an Obama hater. But we have to stop trying to maintain his legacy or Kamala Harris's legacy over saying, damn it, we're glad they ran, but we need more.
yeah.
We deserve more. We deserve better as citizens. And if their legacy gets tarnished as we fight for a better future, so be it.
Yeah, the other thing that just to touch on that Kamala Harris didn't do was open up and be more genuine in herself. She was very
Guarded.
constrained into this polished, crafted politician, and we know that like with the Democrats, even with like Obama, he was not that. Like he was more like Zoran, where
He was
he
authentic.
authentic, right?
That's just
where
how
he
he talks.
where you could
All
go off
nerdy like
script,
that.
but
Right.
I could listen to a Kamala Harris, and she really didn't get into it closer
It was
to
the
this
same thing.
until towards the end. But it was like I could listen to this, listen to her every time, and it'd be the same thing.
And I knew it
the
was going to
talking
come
points.
next.
Yeah, you knew how she
Hmm.
was going to bring it back, and where Obama wasn't afraid to have like a conversation that was off script and things like that. But yeah,
And what did he offer? He offered an inspirational vision, hope and change,
HOPE. That's right.
right? Si se puede, right? Like so, like
hope is
that
powerful.
hope is a very powerful,
And
a
right
very
now,
powerful emotion.
people really, if you can appeal to hope right now, and the chance where people feel helpless and feel like that the world is ending, World War III is on the horizon, we're in a dictatorship, this is powerful. We're tired of seeing the Jeffries and the Schumers, finger waving, and we're gonna
Yes.
do something. We're gonna do something powerful, and at some point in time when we choose, and we're gonna read a book to out loud to the kids, and
Right.
have story
No, no,
time.
no, no. What we're gonna do is we're gonna sit on the Capitol steps like Hakeem Jeffries and Cory Booker and have like this grayscale picture, and it's gonna say Dems raising hell because we're cool guys. And we're sitting here and pull that picture up if
Having
you
a
can.
picnic.
Can you pull that picture up? I know I'm putting you on spot again, Rom. But pull that picture up because this is another example of how Dems get so caught up in the consultant group, the what's poll tested, what they think is a safe line to walk, when in
Yeah,
reality you ain't doing shit.
that's why you were seeing this like total stomping of norms since Trump has taken office. And people like you and us and everybody are sitting here saying, where is la resistance?
Right.
Where is the nightly address to the nation
Come
telling you
on.
this is not our right and we're going to move past this? Here's how, and it's going to happen soon. We're here.
Hold on, RC. I got a little scared. This picture popped up and I got scared because these are two badass mofos. Go put that picture back.
Hold on,
We're trying to
They're
scare
just
people.
missing shell toe Adidas, I
That's
believe.
it, man. And Kangol hats, man, and Dookie chains. That's what they're missing. So, like, look at this. So let's go back to this picture. I just want to analyze it for a couple of
Fresh
seconds.
to death.
Yeah.
You know,
Let me put it back up. There was another one where sorry, I had one more.
You're good.
Pull it back up, but there was another one
That was
where
too much.
too much.
Hakeem
It's too
Jeffries,
much.
he like made it look like an album cover.
That was the one I wanted you to pull
That's
up.
what I
Yeah,
was looking for. But
that was the one because it said like Dems raising hell going down the side. Like it was like an EPMD album or some shit. But like this is the performative bullshit because I forget what this was. The 12 hour sitting to protest Trump's budget plan. Okay. Okay, like what came of this? This picture is this is the most we can get out of people who will be harmed by this shit. We get a cool picture of Cory Booker looking constipated and Hakeem Jeffries looking off center. This is the best we can get from there. Oh, look at this parental
this
advisory,
and
explicit
somebody,
content.
I don't know who made this,
Oh,
but Hakeem Jeffries posted this, so it wasn't like it's just some fan.
dude, some
I
intern
think
was
that's a
like,
take off the Clash London Calling, if I'm not mistaken.
maybe, I think they're trying to give some sort of New York, New Jersey hip hopera situation, and like this is we the tough boys, and the real Dem who is raising hell is someone like Zoran Mamdani who has built a coalition of people. He had cross endorsements with all five people. There was the Working Families Party who also had a run in New York because every single candidate that the Working Families Party put up also won. So as we talk
Mm-hmm.
about third party momentum and Tea Party, we have that shit. It's in shit like the Working Families Party. It's in shit like PSL. And folks got to understand it's not this neoliberal war hawk, pro cop, pro military industrial complex, pro capitalist shit. It's not. People are at a point where they're like, yo, I want something different. And the last thing I'll say is that I've gotten today when I did a lot of pro Zoran stuff, even though we're all in North Carolina, but like I feel like I could just do my part. I saw a tweet that said, I felt so proud today to, no, I said I don't live in New York, but I still wrote Zoran Mamdani's name on a piece of paper and put it in the mail. So like people across the country are like, there was a lot of energy, but it. No, I'm sorry. I'm taking too much time. Go ahead.
We're in a red county, and the Democrats I've seen here, even in also in Mecklenburg, which is obviously blue, but I see more energy and excitement from this than pretty much anything since the election, other than like the the No Kings protest. But like I think that these type of things are what energizes.
But this was multicultural.
The base, you're right. But
So
like,
yeah, what
what I'm
caught
saying
fire?
is like this energizes the base and the people who are actually willing to go out and knock doors and do things. And
Right.
Yeah.
also when you're talking about a message for the hardworking folks,
Right.
and, like things that they care about, like everyday things, like worrying about how to get to work, make sure there's grocery stores, you're not in a food desert, paying for your children, like those are like very real realities.
To both of your points, like this is what brings people out of the woodwork. It is not the middle.
That's right.
So you saw all these other third party, third way type
Mm-hmm.
groups over the past
Mm-hmm.
decade, and they
Mm-hmm.
were going to the wrong side. They were
Mm-hmm.
trying to go to the middle, and then you end up with that milk toast nothingness platform that is just devoid of any kind of sabor. It's like, where's the juice?
The facade is up, right? Because they're worried about maintaining order and more than anything, right? Right. So that's how
Mm-hmm.
I see the centrist, and that's how I see a lot of these Democrats that are continuing to run to the center, run to the right. And again, I consider myself a centrist for many years, but what I wasn't in reality, because the center from 20 years ago is far different than what the
The
center is
Overton
now.
window
today. Yeah.
has been broken.
Right.
And
So
so,
they
and you
shot
also,
that bitch.
and also, I also thought about, like, when I was younger, I always thought, like, okay, well, you got these two sides, and compromise ends up somewhere in the middle, which still can be the case right now. Like, Republicans are just steamrolling over Democrats, but, like, if you have that, let's say that is the case, and you have Republicans that are far to the right, and then you have Democrats, to the left. But then Democrats keep trying to, like, move over, and Republicans are just taking everything they want. That's where we're at. The compromise continues to move to the right, and that's I think the
We were
Democrats just need to be
talking.
more radical.
We were talking in our group chat, I think a couple of days ago, about our friends who are across the pond and across the way. And the Democratic Party in another country would be a center right, would be a center right party. It wouldn't be a left
Mm-mm.
party.
No,
And
it's not a
that's
Labor Party.
it's not. And that's the reality that I think we need to sit. And I think we project onto the Democratic Party our own political like ambitions and whims. And that is not what this apparatus is meant to do. Again, liberals
We do
will
that
all
only because of the two, that's the only place we see a home. It's not
right,
because it's
exactly.
actually reflective of our values. It's because, God forbid, if we had to choose one, this is where we land.
Right. And this is why the Democratic establishment is not in writ large in favor of our CV, ranked choice voting. They
And they
are
take
not
it for
interested
granted.
because they want to leave us with this kind of like, well, you got this or that. And you can always have, that's why ranked choice voting actually eliminates the lesser of two evilisms. And you can actually have, your top choice, your second choice. So if they don't, and folks have to actually try to win your vote, and you have to listen to their platform. It's not just this idea of like, well, are you for the D's or for the R's? And going back to Monroe, was going on the mayoral race and in the municipals. That is what they want to get back to. Now, if they were serious about democracy, they would instill ranked choice voting. Now we know Republicans don't want, because in this country, white men have always had power. There's no city or community that has had the majority of black people passing laws to hurt white people. But they want to continually do that shit. There's never in history has that happened. So we have to understand historically that is the track that we're on. And Zoran put I think a B12 shot in the arms of progressive people and people who just wanted to see something different, because God damn it, the status quo wasn't enough.
Very, very good.
Bazinga.
Yeah.
Sorry. The last thing, then we'll move on. But as we talk about some of the Republican shit, can you pull up? And I was the night of the election. I was like, I wonder where the senator from New York is on this. A senator who doesn't just live in New York City; he lives in Brooklyn. He lives in the borough that handily went for Zoran.
Yeah.
He had to have come out, excuse me, and said congratulations the night of, once Cuomo conceded. But can you pull up his tweet from that night?
I didn't know what he said that night.
Yeah, no. Like, you should be able to. He's there, and it is. I mean, and it's like some hours, and then I think we get into maybe the next morning. So the 25th, he has a tweet that this is his answer to
Schumer.
Zoran Mamdani, Charles Schumer,
I can't
the
find
Brooklyn boy.
What is it? You got to give me some. I don't know what he actually said.
Yeah,
Okay,
give me a paraphrase.
he basically says, "I just called me." It's the only one with Zoran Mamdani's name in it. He says, "I just called Zoran Mamdani." Hold on, let me do my real Schumer.
Yes, yes.
I just called Zoran Mamdani, and Zoran, we worked together at for there's something in Astoria to get something lowered, and it was great. I look forward to working with him in the future. Talk to him soon. Now, one word that was missing out of that whole gobbledygook was what?
And endorse.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. And he was asked on the Hill about this. They said, "Oh, so the mayoral race, are you excited about it, blah blah?" And he said, "I early voted in my precinct, blah blah blah, and I'm keeping my vote to myself," which we all know means he voted for the Sex Pest. So like this,
Right.
when you have, and he's the highest ranking Democrat in elected office. So this is the schism we're talking about in the Democratic Party. He's trying to remember. He said a couple years ago, for every Jamal and Jose we lose, we pick up like a Cheryl or a Susan or something in suburbia. This is that third way thinking that RC was talking about that had got him to lose the Senate. We lost the presidency because he is trying to not do what Anat Shankar Osorio said earlier, is to animate the base to persuade the middle. He's trying to dilute himself to persuade the middle, which never works.
Yeah. So
that looked like maybe some kind of.
Oh, you put it back up. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. I'm sorry, RC. Go ahead.
It didn't look like anything. He should have said nothing instead of saying that. That was so much nothing.
Put that back up. What the hell? Let's see what it says verbatim. Oh my God. This is the top ranking Democrat in the United States of America, who is currently located in the borough that Zoran
Captain
Mamdani
of a sinking ship. And when he
Yes.
sees someone who represents a lifeboat,
What does he say?
what does he do? He waves at it.
I've known Zoran Mamdani since we worked
also
together to provide debt relief for thousands of beleaguered taxi drivers and fought to stop a fracked gas plant in Astoria. Well, that's good. He ran an impressive campaign that connected with New Yorkers about affordability, fairness, and opportunity.
These are the same Democrats that a week ago missed a golden opportunity to, regardless of where they truly stood on bombing Iran. I mean, they were basically like, "Why weren't we in the room talking about bombing Iran with you?"
Hold on. Who was the one Democrat that was in the room that was informed?
Was Schumer informed?
Charles Schumer. Yes. Well, he was the one Democrat that was informed.
And so
I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yes.
And here's the thing: you had fracture on the right, meaning there was a golden opportunity for Democrats to be on the same page, to actually have half of these Republicans also be in agreement. But instead, Democrats were just like, "Well, we missed it, like we missed our chance to be in the room. Iran's dangerous. They can't have a nuclear weapon." So like the one opportunity, pretty much the only opportunity they had in the past 6 months to, be uniform. And it's like, what, 85% of people are not for bombing Iran, right?
But your name isn't Lockheed Martin.
So that opportunity was missed by these same folks. So I don't think they're long for their seats much longer. Personally, Schumer especially.
I thought
Schumer's also was in a hospital this week, as well. So he's all 80 as well. So right.
Well, there you go. Well, the other highest ranking Democrat, Hakeem Jeffries, also a New York citizen and resident. He did come out. Maybe they coordinated it like immediately over text, but he put out a statement like a minute after Schumer's, and he did say congratulations. So maybe he got the message like, dude, you gotta say something, dude. Come on. And then the last person I want to talk about is Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York. Is this Jeffries?
Yes, Jeffries.
Yeah. So you got congratulations to Zoran Mamdani on a decisive primary victory. Assemblymember Mamdani ran a strong campaign that relentlessly focused on the economy and bringing down the high cost of living in New York City. I mean, I think ChatGPT wrote that. But I think that's good, right? That's fine, whatever. But then Kathy Hochul, governor of New York, was, I think, asked today about the Mamdani win. And I don't know if you have this clip, but I could paraphrase. And she basically, is this it?
Oh, it's not a clip. She said it.
So that's what happened. That headline there. Hochul declines to endorse Mamdani and mispronounces his name. My question is, So where the fuck are all you liberals who have been telling us that we got to vote blue no matter who? Not he won the Democratic nomination. Not he has not won the mayorship yet. But what all that y'all been we got to vote blue no matter who, and it falls apart when it is someone who challenges the system and who is actually fighting for the people. That shit breaks down. And that's shameful.
Extremely telling.
She slammed his plan to tax the rich. What are all these ads?
That tells you everything right there.
It's like what the top 1%.
That's crazy.
She's running cover. New York is interesting to me because they keep putting in these like conservative Democrats.
Well, when all you have is one or the other, this is what you get, right? And like we have to go back to the idea that like these people actively do not want to support us. They want to give us crumbs and to say, well, see, like we'll give you 2 Band-Aids, and the Republicans they want to just cut your leg off, or they want to run you over with a car. And it's like, no, I need surgery. I need something better than this. We need to help the people, not just this 1% shit. And
yeah, we don't need a half-empty city that is half owned by the Chinese, half owned by the Russian, and nobody actually lives there. And it's $5,000 a month.
Yeah.
New York City has over 100 billionaires. I think 119 billionaires, and well over and hundreds of thousands of millionaires. The city. I'm not talking about state. I'm talking about New York City. So this idea of the billionaires are going to leave and the millionaires are going to leave, because that's the other fear mongering thing. No, they're not. Because you know why? They like living in New York City. They like that shit.
Yeah,
and they'll pay a premium for it.
It's not going to break their bank.
Right. Like, okay, so you loved it, but now you like 7/8 love it. Like you used to love it completely, but now you're like, okay, I'm taxed at 1 or 2 more percent more on starting over like $100 million on my income. Okay, I don't like that.
And then
but like,
sure, go try to start another metropolis somewhere else.
Please
it's not
do.
happening.
Please do.
And they complain about crime and all that good stuff. Anyway, so now Mamdani is he's now part of the sleeper cell. He's part of the ICE deportation.
He's a sleeper cell.
They're gonna, and we talked about this again also last
Hamas.
week. Was, we'll see Iranians, we'll see Muslims in these ICE raids more and more.
He's all
the
that.
past week, but we got to ask, and who's the real sleeper cell? Sleeper cells. All of a sudden, we're hearing about sleeper cells. We're hearing about sleeper
cells.
But there was a story.
I thought that was a new My Pillow.
There's a new story.
So this gentleman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why?
There's 13 tribes of Israel.
Do you have the other video
what
first?
I wanted to do.
The other one before this one?
Let me do that one. You want me to do that one?
Yeah, because it kind of like at least sets this one up a little bit. You don't got to go through the whole thing. Yeah.
Ugh, they're both so scary.
Right?
It's like a Jeffrey Dahmer interview.
Here, he's accused of killing New River pastor Bill Scheineman, and he admits to our camera, to our Lauren Clark, that he is responsible for that brutal murder.
He made no bones about it. He says this was part of a plan to kill 14 Christian leaders in 10 states across the country. Lauren Clark now joins us live to explain.
His interpretation.
We've got to warn you up front, these details are disturbing.
Well, John and Ellen, first of all, before I go into the details of that interview, I want to start with the man who is the victim in this case. I think that is super important. Pastor Bill Scheineman, he was beloved in his community. This was a man, according to people who knew him really well, who would do anything to help out a person in need, a light in his community, a light that Adam Schiff admitted to me right here in the Coconino jail about 2 hours ago that he took. He showed no remorse or regret for his actions.
Yeah, do the other one because where we get his like super glazed eyes.
Yeah, this guy seems like the
Yes.
Why?
There's 13 tribes of Israel. So what I wanted to do was execute and crucify 13 priests and put one of the tribes of Israel in each of their right ears, which I did with this priest. I put the tribe of Benjamin.
So when did this plan come to fruition? You're thinking about this, you want to carry out this hit list?
Yes.
A hit list.
Sure.
14 pastors.
That's right. Around the nation, to surround the nation.
How do you justify that? I mean, if you're killing somebody or multiple people attempted,
okay, but
how does that work?
It's a commandment to rid Israel of evil. I've done this You know, I've been in and out of prison, so I know I ran the police probably 100 times in my life.
So you have zero remorse for this killing?
Not only do I have zero remorse, I plan on fulfilling what I started. So do I think I'm a monster? No. No.
The first video was a little more instructive in that he was talking about how the pastor's view of Christianity was not pure enough in his, you know, crazy version of the Bible or whatever. So he was just saying, yo, I know the real truth, and this is what has to happen because y'all aren't passing the purity test, and you're also like helping people too much, I think he was saying.
Think about how much this fucking still humanizes him.
I can't believe that there's video.
That's what I think about. I'm like, there are countless black and brown people that have been murdered that we have been told have been threats, that I fear for my life, that, you know, him, and then Vance Bolter from Minnesota.
Minnesota.
These are people that have taken in without incident, you know, to the police station, and then they get these interviews where, you know, someone. I mean, and it's good. We should do psychological, you know, analysis of these people. I'm not saying we shouldn't, but this humanizes him. Why did he do this? What's going on? And I couldn't imagine a Muslim person sitting there with Arabic tattooed on their neck.
No,
And
but then
then-
this Vance Bolter guy, he was put in the same Islamophobic grouping, I think, on one of the newscasts, as in, here's the new terror. Here is what's being exacted on our country. And he was just like lumped in because they tried to paint him as a Democrat before. So like nothing sticks to these guys.
Yeah.
This is the face. These are the faces of the true terror cells. And it's not me saying that. That's the fucking Federal Bureau of Investigation saying that. Back when Christopher Wray was the head of the FBI, and he spoke in front of Congress and said the #1 threat to the homeland is domestic right-wing white supremacist terrorism. So when I talk about white supremacy, people are like, oh, panicking about race. Look, man, that's not me saying that. That's this same racist ass government saying that shit too.
And it was laughed off, and it was underfunded. And now you have a dude who was a gardener last year who's in charge of it.
Oh yes, that WEI hire. He's white.
That dude, the eyebrow guy.
He's a WEI hire. He's white, entitled, and incompetent. So that's how they're hiring. But like, yeah, I just think about how these stories still shape them as just, you know, addled young men at 57, just a young 57.
He's gonna figure it out someday.
Yeah, there he is.
He's in charge. He's in charge of protecting us from domestic terrorism, and you know they've just a reminder that
he's 22, right?
He's 22. Gross. Like, so the last person they hired that was like this guy ended up being a spy. Just FYI.
That's right.
But just
want to
remind people. No, another one.
Because Big Balls
are an insider threat. But there was
just quit.
No, there was another one. I'll find the story. But there was
he will be
deposed.
One.
You guys hear about that?
I didn't hear that he was quit. I didn't hear that
he just quit.
Yesterday. We're gonna go a little long today. But
big balls.
But what I'm trying to say is that, like, remember, FBI, Homeland Security, ICE, all kinds of agencies have been shifted from you know, things like hate crimes, from homegrown terrorism, you know, white nationalists, white supremacists, all these folks
surrounding up good brown people.
Surrounding up people who I think they said like 85% don't have any sort of criminal record whatsoever. You know, these are people who are actually at work. These are people taking care of their kids. These are the, you know, they said these are the worst of the worst. Meanwhile, while our eyes, America's eyes, the law enforcement eyes are off of the ball, this is...
Hold on. I just thought about something. I'm sorry, Ron. Finish your thought. I'm gonna come back. When you're done,
I don't have a thought. Go ahead. You didn't cut me off.
Hold on a minute. So y'all been trying to tell me they've been rounding up these illegal terrorist immigrants, but they just forgot all the Iranian sleeper cells?
Yeah.
What?
Now they got to catch up. Now they got
They
a.
also weren't really that important the first Trump term either. Let's
You had
not
right
forget.
because they've been here, being deep into the soil of America. So you chose to go to the Home Depot and the gardeners. That's more important than the Iranian terrorist sleepers. But Vance Balter and what's that other guy's name that they just showed? Those two jackasses can just go on about their day because they could blend in. That's what privilege looks like. If you just throw on a MAGA cap and blend right back into power, that is what privilege looks like. And the fact that they are just choosing to racially profile uh, Latino, Hispanic people across the country just to hit some sort of quota to make Stephen Miller's dick hard is insane to me. But there
And
are
now
people
they're
who
going to be able to add a completely other ethnic group to the list so we can just bulk up those numbers.
That's right. That's right. And like and the idea that, we have to sit here and take these bad faith arguments that the fear are the brown people, the fear are the black people. It has never been that way in this country. It will never be that way in this country. And they know that. This is all projection. They know. Like, look at that old, gentry white man here in Monroe, North Carolina, that does not like those two gentlemen who plays beach music from the '60s.
But
He wants to take a gun and murder people. Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
what happened? What happened to this terrorist?
It falls out of the news cycle. But
Well,
we got to hear about Chicago.
It didn't only
We
fall
got to
out
hear
of the
about
news
New
cycle.
York.
It didn't only fall out the news cycle.
It was by
Imagine,
purpose.
It fell off the earth.
imagine if okay. Imagine a man named Muhammad shot at Trump.
Muhammad Jenkins. He's a black.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's do that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But it is the most popular name in the world, by the way, Muhammad. But
Yes, it is.
let's just say,
I was like,
And Jenkins.
let's just say,
Jenkins
let's just get a little
that's the most popular
stereotypical.
black name.
But let's just get stereotypical, right, for a moment. Do you think? And first off, like, we would never hear the end of it. Second off,
Bro.
if Trump was really like this, that's the way it makes this whole thing suspicious. Is like he would be riding this thing till forever and a day. But
Right.
regardless,
Talks about being shot or shot at or whatever you want to call it.
but
That ear
regardless,
looks
we've
totally
now had
unshot.
we had an assassination, a political assassination 2 weeks ago, right, of two Democrats, two other
Yep.
a Democrat and his wife, plus another Democrat,
And the
and his
dog.
wife was shot. A dog and almost the
True.
daughter as
True.
well.
The daughter was
right.
lined up
execution style. Like,
Execution style.
so this is like this that I mean that is like ISIS. That's like a picture. That's almost the same thing as ISIS holding up some in a camera and like that's what they
Beheading.
do. Shoot, like that is literally textbook terrorism.
Yeah.
When have you heard them call this Vance Bolter guy a terrorist? Because I haven't.
He's a young man. He's a young man who's a little bit, he's upset about life. His girlfriend left him. His
And his
roommate.
thoughts are not shared by anyone nor informed by anything that we know about.
And this Adam Schiff,
No, he's a lone. He's a lone wolf.
Lone wolf.
this
right?
Adam Schiff guy.
What you gonna do?
This Adam Schiff guy, I didn't even hear that story till you sent it to me like an hour before we came on here, right? So,
But the thing is, but were you shocked, Ron?
was I shocked? I no, but I wasn't that I didn't hear it. No, like, and that's the crazy part, right? Is like
Right.
this dude literally just killed a 78-year-old priest, and was going after 14 priests across the country on a what do they call the infantile? Whatever they were saying,
Joe Scarborough called it the infantada. But we do realize we still take our shoes off because someone had a quote unquote shoe bomb 20 years ago. But these motherfuckers can just roam around with AK-47s and AR-15s
And now we can have permitless concealed carry. That's what we introduced. That's the
right.
solution.
And very likely deputized. Very likely these people are deputized into the ICE, to be honest.
Oh, no question. That's why they're wearing fucking masks. There's a lot of people are corrections officers. That's the other thing that's going around. A lot of people are correction officers. They never really had their shot.
How do we
get into the force? And now
How
they're
do we
like,
find out the standards that these people have to uphold? What kind of test do you have to do? Do you just spell
who
your
are these
name right?
people? Who are these
Yeah.
people? Like, who are you? I don't know who you are.
That was a
And you
good
can get
Jerry
these
Seinfeld.
black jackets on Etsy, and you can get them on Amazon. So the idea that, like, I mean, and I know that this really proves how honestly peaceful a lot of our Latino brothers and sisters are, and a lot of our black Muslims and black immigrants and some of our European immigrants, they are not violent people. Because if I don't know who you are, and you just pull up in an unmarked Durango. I didn't like Durangos to begin with. I thought they because the body shape wasn't that great. But now you're pulling up in a Durango with some bullshit lights in the fucking grill, and now I gotta sit here and like and without incident, at least rip their fucking masks off. Like I
I
just
need
want
to
to see one
believe you,
video.
and I need to get in there and go wherever you're going.
The black, I
What?
mean, Mike Pence didn't do that on January 6th. He didn't get in the fucking car,
Because he
but
knew it
we're
was at
expecting.
the other end.
We knew it was on the other end. So I mean, but like I just wish one person would just rip a mask off. But everybody's going without incident because they know they are not here to cause problems. They're not here to cause trouble. And I try to remind people, stop letting people that hate you get you to believe that you should be afraid of someone else. Whether that be a Latino person, whether that be an Iranian, whether
Oh
that
God,
be
the
a Palestinian.
Bundys.
Yeah.
Bundy Ranch, right? Yeah,
Blast
dude.
from the past.
Again,
Armed standoff with federal agents. 300 people toting weapons joined Bundy when the federal government began to round up his cattle after he refused to vacate federally owned land and paid more than $1 million in fees. They had a whole thing. Montana Freeman, Waco, like
Waco. That's where Trump kicked off his
Could you
2024
imagine?
campaign.
Could you imagine? You know what that looks like if a black group did that.
It'd be the streets would be slicked with blood, or
Or they would just bomb the entire. They would bomb the neighborhood.
That's right.
Right.
And
1985, mind you.
And keep the kids in the house and keep the people in the house when they're trying to escape by shooting at it to make sure they die and burn up. So that's what America does. So I'm not. It's not lost on me that the same people they want me to hate me, want me to hate someone else. So yeah, folks, we're gonna keep our eyes on all this stuff.
Hypocrisy is crazy.
This was a very terroristic, in-depth episode, right? And the terror were the same people that were hoods, or as KRS once said, the same people that burn crosses run forces. And that's exactly what was going on here, right?
YouTube, the YouTube and the Facebooks and the Instagram censors are like, we're gonna nerf this episode. Like, we're not showing this to anybody.
Hey, we're just trying to keep y'all safe. That's it. We're trying to just keep your head on the swivel. That old nice man in that cutoff sweater, be careful. He might be out hunting for niggas. I don't know. And that's what's gonna be happening, y'all. So like that is the fear that so many feel in this country. And it's real. It's real because they're saying it with their own mouths. We don't have to, oh, it's the fear of the brown, the fear of this, and in the jihadist, in the globalized, the infantada, as as Joe Scarborough says, or the infantada. But they are serious, man. And they are playing for supremacy. They are playing to dominate. And this is the old phrase goes, why does a small man, love his country? Because that's all he's got. And Robert Burns is a good example of that. Donald Trump, no, he's not a small man. But all his bootlickers are small. I mean, he's a small man in his confidence.
Well, he's got them all calling him daddy. So
I mean, bro, these are the most submissive men on the planet.
You remember was it Ted Cruz's wife called her ugly? Like
and he said his daddy killed JFK.
He said his dad killed JFK.
Rubio, little Marco, like
look,
Lindsay,
I love Trump.
Lady
Trump's
Lindsay, he called Lady Lindsay. Like, come on, bro.
Lady G.
Like these are the softest. These are the softest men. These are supposed to be these alpha men.
Soft.
Soft as baby shit. But
soft.
And speaking of which, and Mayor Robert Burns, to one of the things I posted on Threads, somebody did reply.
He got back to you?
No, somebody. Of course not. He's a pussy.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. I'm hoping, y'all.
Yeah.
Monroe still has white-only establishments. The signs aren't out front, but everybody knows which ones they are. So this is the reality.
That's right.
And I don't know any black only establishments where that are unsafe
for white people.
for a white
Not,
person to go into.
yeah, I mean, we have black
See, this
establishments, but not black
no one's
owned.
gonna
That's the
say like, hey, we're gonna kill that,
No.
that bald headed whitey. Like, why is he in here? They're
You know
not
what's
gonna,
crazy?
no one says
I,
that.
I always wonder because I'm like, I've been
It
black
might be
my whole
uncomfortable
life.
for you because you're not, hey,
That-
like,
that's-
it looks
Been
out of
there,
place,
been
but-
there.
Yeah, I'm sure he feels that way sometimes on his podcast, but that's okay. but you know what
To
though,
learn, to
like,
grow.
hey, that's right, because we all are one people. But like it's so shocking to me that I've been black my whole life, and I have never been around a group of black people like, man, you know what we need to do? We just need to go kill some white people. Let's just start killing white. I've had people talk about the systemic problems we deal with and the man being on us and the cops and that bullshit landlord and blah, blah, blah. But I ain't never heard, no, we should do. Let's go fucking kill some people. Like, that's never, but like, this is the shit they jump to and publicly post on Facebook.
Yeah.
On their
Like,
Union County Republican, not Democrat, excuse me. Union County Republican page. Like, they're crazy.
Or just any of these city pages, you can find somebody talking about running over protesters and making up these tales.
Do y'all have next door?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, but I've been staying off of it.
That's next door
Karen
jumping.
Central, man.
Jumping next door. I seen someone
I need to get back on there.
He don't live. I don't think he lives in my neighborhood. I mean, like, what are y'all doing all day? You're looking at people walking up your street,
peering through the windows, man.
I seen a cat. That cat doesn't belong in this neighborhood. I think it's owned by an illegal. What? Like the stretches. It's like Mr. Fantastic. Well, folks, we are at an hour and a half pretty much. Good episode. Thursdays are our longer episodes. So if you've made it all the way through and you want to give us some feedback or drop a question, please do. We are always available at Radical Roots. What's the email? I don't use it that much. Rom, what's the email again?
info@radicalroots.us.
info@radicalroots.us. I need to get better at that, but hey, we're growing. I'm vulnerable. I'm authentic. I'm Zoran. We are all Zoran. Hail
we
Zoran.
are Zoran.
Hail Zoran.
I'm Zoran.
Hail Zoran.
You got Zoran, Zoran, and Zoran 2, 3. So,
and you have Zataran. Don't forget that.
Zoran Astrianism.
Yeah. I see you lost me there.
That's an old religion.
Okay. Well, folks, this was another great conversation. And again, I think our show is cooking. We're getting up there with our followers. In fact, I was talking to somebody about our show today. She shared it with some folks. So again, we are growing our platform. We are growing our subscribership, and we need you. We need you to make sure that you're liking, sharing, subscribing, telling folks about it. And if you have any questions, engage with us. We need you. We want to hear what you think. Any topics that we're missing. Yes, our politics predominantly does view things through a black and brown lens. But you know what? What are we missing out there, right? I try to bring everything back historically, but also what are some that we might need to also keep an eye on. So please make sure that you're engaging with us, talking with us. And we're going to keep this thing going. And I'm actually not going to be here Sunday. I forgot to tell you guys. I'm going on vacation.
Congratulations. I'm sure it's well deserved.
Thank you. I'm going on vacation, and it's a boy. It's a boy. No, but I will be back right before the 4th. So if you guys might need to run that and do it, I'll gladly watch that and enjoy it, because I know you guys are very, very funny guys.
We might need a tech showdown for that long. We might need a tech reprieve, because this guy has been holding it down, and
hot dog shirt over
to
here.
Take the reins. Yeah, hot dog. Well, this is the color of Zoran's
that's
signage,
true.
so I
that's
felt
true.
really down.
That's why people like it.
All right. But real quick, I did want to share one website, icelist.info. If anybody has something or someone they would like to add to it, transparency is what we're all about, and so that
explain a little bit first.
All right, so I guess it's a crowdsourced database of individuals involved in deportations, ICE operations, and associated abuses. And we're not out here completely doxing, but just letting people know that if you are involved in this type of activity, I think your community needs to know and the nation needs to know, because what are you hiding from?
Yeah, why can't they show a badge? They don't even show badges.
Or your face.
Show IDs. They don't. Yeah, they don't. They don't show.
This is America, supposedly. So we do not have private police. So this is not the Watchmen. This is not the Klan. I mean, this is Klan's America, as my grandpa used to always tell me. But we're falling right back into it.
So yeah,
and we had a guy from Union County who was in January 6th too, so that's not shocking.
No.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for the resource. I think you fight fire,
Folks.
fire.
Thank you for tuning in to the Radical Roots podcast, where we dig deep to reach high, and as always, progress through action. I am your co-host, Peyronius Alize Baxter.
Alize. I'm your co-host, Ram Sandoval.
And I'm Ron Cabuno. I'm here because you guys are awesome. Thank you.
He's a guy with a name. We'll see y'all